Shout out to the gayest podcast out there with Ross and Callum, Jiu Jitsu Oracle.
Welcome to the Jiu Jitsu Oracle's ranking of the Australia-Asia team for CJI 2 with me, Ross, and my co-host Callum. I'm calling them Australia-Asia because I think that's what the name has now been settled on as, opposed to Australasia, which I didn't think was really reflective of the region. Anyway, let's not get into geography. Let's get into the team. We're going to run through all 5 athletes and the coach, scoring each out of 5, giving a grand total of 30. So, first up, at under 66 kilograms for Australia/Asia is their wild card, Fabricio Andrey. Callum, what are we scoring Fabricio?
Yeah, amazing pick on their part, picking Fabricio. Definitely one of the top guys they could have picked, especially for this event, given the fact that they're likely to mix between weight classes, and Fabricio is probably the best guy in the world at that weight at beating bigger guys. I would say 4-star for him. If you want a more detail in depth of how we're breaking up the stars, you can look at some of the past videos, but 4 stars means that 5 stars means that's like a Gordon or a Mika, but 4 stars more than likely to win most of their matches, but still very beatable and a solid pick for the team. So I would say 4 stars for him. Not necessarily been like an unstoppable force at his weight. Like, he's not been winning the last couple ADCCs, definitely had some solid performances, but is beatable at his weight class, beating guys like DeAndre Corby, who's at this weight, but really powerful pick because of his ability to also beat bigger guys. Seen him beat Giancarlo Bodoni, Owen Livesey. I think there was another one fairly recently where he beat someone significantly bigger, but just a really good pick for this kind of event where he's more than capable of beating any guy in any weight class. So yeah, 4 stars for Fabricio, solid pick for them, from their point of view.
I think that was Zaruski in the BJJ Stars Open Weight Grand Prix where we saw, or if you follow social media, you might have seen the hip throw that Fabricio hit. His judo is awesome for these events where he goes up against bigger guys. He can get them to the ground. That wins against Bodoni and Livesey came at a Polaris event, so it was under a slightly different scoring system, but he can at very least hold his own against a bigger guy. So even if Fabricio is against the biggest guy in the opposition team, he might be able to take them out with a draw. If he's already got a sub win against the lighter guy, that's a huge net win for his team. And to get 1 submission win and then 1 draw against a big guy. So I think he's great for the rule set. Like you said, has had some losses at his own weight against guys like Diego Pato, but we're talking about other guys who are at the elite end of the sport. So it's not like he loses unexpectedly, really. He just sometimes loses against other guys who are really, really good at his kind of weight class. That IBJJF Worlds win was 2021, so a few years ago now. Not really kicked on since then, picking up more world titles, but is still at that top end. So I think 4 stars, very, very fair for Fabricio. And I think probably the best usage of the wild card that Australia-Asia could have made.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I say, in a different context of winning ADCC or something, you can say that Baby Shark or Pato would be a better pick, but honestly, I would argue that he is the best possible wildcard pick at 66 just because of his ability to take out bigger guys as well. So good job on them using that slot.
Yeah, and I think probably 66 was that region's weakest slot.
Yeah.
So identifying that slot and then identifying the best candidate for it and then going out and getting them right away. Great move from Lachlan. We'll come on to scoring Lachlan at the end. Next, we're going to go to Kenta Iwamoto at under 77. Originally, it was to be Levi Jones Leary, but I believe he's got a back injury stopping him from competing. So they've brought in Kenta. So first off, give me some thoughts on Kenta, and then we'll maybe have a look at what we'd have scored Levi as well. But first off, Kenta.
Yeah, so I think this is a bit of a drop off for them. If you just compare both of those guys, the last event they did the same was the last CJI, and I think Kenta went out first round, and then Levi got into the finals, and about 50% of people thought he won the final. So relatively big discrepancy in who they could have picked. Unfortunately, they didn't get Levi. I think for Kenta, a very, very solid 2 stars, just because his ability to go out and win against the best guys is not quite there. However, he's so durable that, like we spoke about with Fabricio, he could take out like a very solid 88, maybe even a 99. He could definitely take out a solid 77 as far as not getting submitted. Just his ability to go out there and like rack up a few wins isn't quite there. He can definitely win a match or two here or there. So I would say a very, very solid 2 star, just because our definition of 3 star is likely to win more matches than not. Don't quite see that for Kenta, but you've got varying levels of guys within each star, and I think Kenta is a very solid 2 star at that 77 spot.
We talked about his durability going into the match with Mika that he had, where he gave a good account of himself. He really lost. I was looking through his record that he does have submission wins. Most notably probably by footlock, and he trains with B team and they're up to speed on the footlock game, so it's not like he has no subs. It's just that when he wins, it tends to be at like a lower level than this elite end of the sport, whereas like CJI is kind of like a Super Bowl / World Championship kind of style event, so you got a lot of top guys in there. I think he's won 3 ADCC trials in the Asia Oceania region. Again, it's maybe just like that trials level is just a bit under the level that he's going to face potentially at CJI 2. But I think he's going to be a tough out for someone else. Like, I could see him drawing against a big guy and that having a good positive effect on his team's result in that specific match. So, yeah, I think a good 2. What about Lucas Kanard at under 88? Interesting to
go over how we would have scored Levi.
Yes, let's go over Levi.
Yeah, so I would have said bare minimum 3-star, but I would have argued 4-star, just given what we've seen him do recently. I mean, getting to the finals of the, in my opinion, toughest bracket in all of grappling history, which was the under 80 kilo CGI, getting to the final of that, and then having a super close decision against a guy that we probably would have gave 5 stars if he was in this, in Cave Rotolo. About half the people I speak to, and the general consensus, I think half the people thought he won that match. So I think 4 stars is pretty fair for him. He's very difficult to do anything to, because barely anyone can pass his guard. He's got a lot of very good submission attacks on the upper body and lower body, as well as back attacks. So I probably would have gave him 4. So it's a couple missed stars for the team, but a very solid 2 stars. And to be honest, like we said, given Kenta's durability, in certain situations, I would say he is more valuable than Levi. It's just as far as like getting subs on the board and actually going out and beating people, Levi would be a more valuable pick in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would have said 4 stars as well. But maybe when it plays out, like the matches Kenta gets would be the matches Levi could have gotten. Like, Levi again, like his durability and his impassable guard might have meant that he was able to draw against Nicky Rod or something like that, right? You know what I mean? And have a great effect on his team. But like maybe Kenta can get that kind of result anyway, I think, in the grand scheme of things, though, Levi is a better grappler just now and is at that top end of that kind of under 80 scene. And hopefully he's back fit, and then we get some of these matches that we'd really love to see, the likes of Mika Galvao and Andrew Tackett or people like that going against
him. Yeah, and I would have liked to see him and his guard against the likes of a guy like Nicky Rod and some of the heavier guys as well. So hopefully we get that in some context down the line as well.
Yeah. Now, Lucas Kanard at under 88. We got burned by him at the last CJI because we highly favoured Victor Hugo to win that match, and Lucas Kanard scored the biggest surprise at the event. with a leg lock finish. Also managed to win ADCC trials in the Asia Oceania region. But like one thing as a grappling fan, I haven't seen loads of Lucas on events that we watch, like WNO or UFC now, previously FPI and stuff like that. So I find him like a challenging grappler to score because I don't know loads about him, other than he obviously had that amazing win at the last CJI. So I'm definitely not going to downplay his chances of doing something similar at this one. What do you think about Lucas?
Yeah, it's difficult just based off of what he's actually went out and done. Obviously, the win against Victor Hugo is massive, but it's just we're not seeing a consistent like lineup of wins, and also it's difficult. You can't really take this into account much because obviously you're gonna be gassed up by your teammates because they're your mates. But like everything I've heard from anyone that's trained with them, like all the Australian guys, like they all say how amazing he is. So take that into account a little bit, but like I say, you're gonna have compliments coming from your teammates regardless. But they do always say how amazing he is, and I wouldn't be surprised if he turns out to be like a 3-4 star grappler in that spot. It's just based off of what he's done in competition, which is the only fair thing to do, really. I would put him as a very, very solid 2 that can take out a bunch of guys. Like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like it was a breakout performance from him the last CJI, but like maybe a bit more consistency with picking up a few wins against some bigger guys. Could see him emerging as a 3-4 star grappler for sure, but just based off of obviously won trials, which is massive, and beat Victor Hugo, which is massive, but having only those 2 things, I would put him in as a very solid 2-star.
Yeah, I think the grappler that Australia, Asia have under 99 kilos falls into this kind of category as well. So Belal Etiabari won the Giles trials. Wasn't really sure if he was going to do over 99 or under 99, but had it confirmed by Belal that he is the under 99, and Declan Moody is going to go over 99. Belal, 5-star interview. If you've not seen my interview with Belal, check it out. It's on the Jiu Jitsu Oracle YouTube. I gave him a shout after the event just because I wanted to know his story, because he basically went from starting to jiu-jitsu to making it to CJI 2 in about 4 years. So an amazing achievement. But yeah, like watch the Giles trials. Declan Moody was the standout of that event. It was the first time I'd really watched Belal compete. Declan had 3 subs. Belal managed to get on the team despite only having 1 sub at the event. He's had a lot of wins regionally, and when I posted that I was speaking to him, I was getting comments from people in that area of the world saying, "Oh, Belal's been on the comp scene, tearing it up down here for ages. He started competing really early and has had a lot of success." And I think like his game means he's going to be a tough proposition because he's a big dude at under 99 and he's very good at leg locks. So he could call it, it's like this Lucas Kanard thing, right? Someone who's a strong athlete comes in with a really, really good leg lock game, they can be an absolute nightmare. And we've seen guys from this area of the world do that, like Craig Jones, he came in, good athlete, strong athlete, great leg lock game, caused a surprise at ADCC, so I don't think we can sleep on these guys. So with Belal, it's just I haven't seen enough about him, but from what I have seen, from what I hear people say about him, I think he's a threat. I think he's going to be a problem. And like with our judging criteria, like if someone was like 1 star, then we would think, oh, they've got like pretty much no chance in any match that they're going to take part in, right? And I think like all these guys that we're talking about, they have like a chance to like a decent chance, and they might even have a good chance. We've just not seen enough of them. So what do you think about that reasoning behind why we might score Belal a certain way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Did he have any notable wins on that that little thing they put on to get into the team?
No, I just think like I remember more of his draws because like he faced Kit Dale, he faced Kaya Rudolph, and then he faced Declan Moody at the end. But like it was a awkward situation at the end because I think Belal knew if he drew, he'd get on the team, and then so he played like just pretty defensively from what I remember. So it wasn't like necessarily like a if they played that match out again, it might go differently. He had one sub win on that, and then I think it was 4 draws. So again, like I've not really seen him win by submission against guys that like feedback and just thinking he might be able to, you know?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to give him 2. These are the kind of events that these guys tend to break out onto, and yeah, he's got a dangerous enough game that I can definitely see him catching some people. So I think 2 stars for him is fair.
Right, plus 99, Declan Moody.
Yeah, I think his game is very physical, and he's in at that over 99 slot, and then just given some of the other guys like Big Dan, like I think it's going to be tough to implement his sort of game with that sort of size, but he is a very solid grappler, really good wrestling, really good passing, and given the fact that he's going to have matches against smaller guys as well, he's done very well against some very high level smaller guys. I think 2 stars is fair for him as well, a very, very solid 2 stars. Very close to putting him at 3, but I just think given our criteria with him at that weight class that he's put in over 99, where he's maybe more used to being an under 99 guy, 2 stars would be fair for that slot.
Yeah, I think off the back of his match against Felipe Pena, where he lost, and I'd think, 2 stars. But then, like, the thing that's nudging him closer to 3 for me was the win against Felipe Andrew, where he won the leg lock shootout, right? He's won trials in his region before. Again, he's like, I think he's on the come up, and maybe his win against Felipe Andrew was like part of that. I don't think he's like if he'd maybe, and maybe I'm like not remembering he maybe has one, but like that's the one that stands out against someone who's like at the level where I'm saying, if you're beating guys like that, I think you're a 3 star. I remember that one. I don't remember any others.
Yeah, he beat either Pat or Baby Shark. I think it was Baby Shark in the absolute. And then the thing with Felipe Andrew, he's a tough one to even rank. Like I don't know, you could even argue he would be like a 2-star guy just because we've only really seen him in CJI. And then that side of the bracket and the matches he ended up having, like, who were those guys, you know what I mean? And then he obviously lost to Nicky Rod in the final. So even Felipe is a difficult one to rank, but obviously still impressive beating a guy that got to the final of a CGI tournament.
Right, 12 for the athletes. And then we're going to add the score of Lachlan Giles, the coach, which is going to be
4 stars, I think, for him. Can't quite put him on the level of like John Danaher, but to be fair with the recruiting, like I said, is one of the best picks they could have made, especially at that weight. He's obviously a very intelligent grappler and very intelligent person. He's got a doctorate, and then you see that coming out in his study of the game. He's got his submeta site with a plethora of information just showing the ability he's got, and then he's obviously good at developing guys out of his gym in that part of the world, since so many good guys come out of there. So I think 4 stars fair for him, just coming short of being on the level of maybe like a John Danaher, but very solid.
Yeah. All right, we judge these guys coach / general manager. Again, if you want to know more about that kind of stuff, get into previous episodes because we've gone through it all. But yeah, good team assembly, good history of coaching, and very switched on, clued up. I think on the day he will be good at strategizing and managing the matchups. So I think they've got a good pick, a good coach in Lachlan Giles. That gives Team Australia Asia 16 points overall. What are we thinking for their chances in the tournament? Obviously, it's draw dependent and we don't know the brackets yet, but do you see them probably first rounders, finding it really hard to win a match? Could they make it through a match and get to the semi-finals? Could they go past that and be a real dark horse? What do you think?
We've ranked a lot of their guys 2-stars, but a lot of them are very, very good, solid 2-stars, and some of them are very dangerous 2-stars. So I think I could definitely see them getting on to the second rounds. I just think they're going to struggle with the depth when they come up against like a New Wave or an Atos or even a B team. So if they come up against one of the other continental teams, or maybe like a 10th Planet or a PFL, could definitely see them getting through that round. But yeah, when it comes to the depth of talent of those three teams that we have ranked at the highest, I think they will struggle. But I think a very solid team as far as like not being one of those three, if you're to compare them to the other teams. So yeah, I can definitely see them getting past a first round.
Yeah, I think it depends on the draw. We've got New Wave, Atos, and B Team as our top 3 seeds. I don't think that's going to be beaten in the remainder of our star rankings. So then the question for me is who's seed number 4 and who could potentially make up that semi-final bracket? Assuming we don't get like a B Team New Wave match round 1, you know? We're thinking like those top 3 teams will go through and then we're looking for a 4th team to come in and make the semi-finals. And I think the team Australia, Asia is in with a good shot of doing that. I see them like mid-ranking in the grand scheme of things and they could get through. And then you get into that mix, who knows what could happen in a match, you know, against another team. You see crazy things like Lucas Kanard submitting Victor Hugo. So we might see that again. But yeah, I think like I would say like they can definitely beat some of the other teams and draw dependent, they can get in for a match against one of the big guns. And I think they could in that match, I would fancy like the big name team, the favored team, the top seed team to come through. But I think even within it, like we might see a shock or two across the sort of 5 matches or so of the quintet format.
Yeah, I think without having everyone's name in front of me right now, just off the top of my head, I would probably lean towards this team being the number 4 seed for me.
Okay. I think it's going to come down between this team and one other team. So tune into the Jiu Jitsu Oracle to find out who we crowd as the 4th seed in a future episode of our Star Rankings.